Welcome to my budget deck channel where I try to make decks as cheap and playable as possible. So if this is something you'd be interested in, then why not subscribe? I thought I was going to make a new series because sometimes I do open certain secret packs, sometimes I do get into certain secret packs, so why not do a set review? If there's any new beginner players among my followers, I thought why not do this if you're looking forward to maybe spending some gems into some packs and you want to know, is this a pack I should be investing in? Is this a pack that I possibly should dodge? Are these decks good in here? Can I do anything with the cards? Are they splashable? I will touch up on any of these topics. And if you're not new at the game and you kind of know about the cards, maybe you just enjoy me talking about certain archetypes, even your favorite archetype, and want to know my thoughts on the deck, on the cards, and on the pack itself. If you're into this kind of series, then leave a like, because this is how I base off of will I continue these kind of series or will I just drop them like it's hot within a second. We start out with the pack. This pack contains two archetypes. It is Sky Striker and it is Mathmech. Two archetypes that I want to say are top notch. The only issue is Telements are a thing. We will see how long that is a thing. So in the future, this video might not be future proof in terms of that one. But these two decks are very, very playable. They're competitively very, very playable. And they are very, very playable on a small budget. Neither of these decks need necessarily more than like 3 to 5 ultra rares and 6 to 9 super rares. So it's very, very easy to get into playing them, and then you can still upgrade them with, well, your standard hand traps and your standard good stuff that requires you to craft lots of UR stuff. And you can obviously add some other stuff. When we're talking about splash abilities, Mathmech can be splashed into certain cyber decks in theory. I've not seen it been done all that much, but Circular is a one-card combo for a lot of things. You do need another Mathmech in it so you can actually get the full potential off of it. So you kind of have to start with one in hand, or have at least some extenders in your hand that then can trigger Cyber's Wicked and so on and so on and so on, because then you can add another Mathmech. But in theory, you could splash it into other Mathmech decks. I'm not sure I would recommend it, but it's possible. When it comes to Sky Strikers, they are like spellbook Sky Striker variants, and technically you can play it with decks that use lots of spell cards, because they are one card combos in theory, and Mobilize Engage is a good draw engine, is a good engine to search out answers to your opponent's plays. So yes, you can splash it, but also I think the pure variant is one of the most competitive variants. So I wouldn't say they're like super splashable, because some decks are just engines like Punk, but this one, it's more their own respective deck. But you technically, if you want to be super creative and if you just want to create something that sounds interesting rather than super good, then yes, you can splash them into other stuff as well. Let's look at the value of the cards. Let's look at, are the ultras that you get in here actually good, or how much garbage is in these slots? And we have first Sky Striker Ace Kagari, a card that is very, very, very strong in Sky Strikers. Without Sky Strikers, obviously it doesn't do anything, like it's not a generic link monster, but this card can add you one Sky Striker spell in your graveyard to add to your hand. Very good. This card recently came off the ban list, so you can play it at 3. 1 is enough if you just want to try out the deck, but 3 would be a nice to have, obviously. But like I said, you can already with 1 do quite a lot. Next up, we have Prime Mathmech, Alan Bershin. Very, very interesting card. You can technically splash this into any rank 4 deck, because the effect is fairly generic. Once you have 3 materials, you can add 1 level 4 monster from your deck to your hand, and once you have 4, you can even add 1 spell trap from your deck to your hand. There's combos within Mathmechs to utilize this, so you can play any kind of floodgate and just search it out, so that's nice. But in Mathmech variants, usually you just want to use the add 1 Mathmech card from your deck to your hand to either get one of the traps, one of the spells, or your circular plays going. So this is more for this one, but very, very good ultra rare, very, very usable. And you are fine at 1. You can technically run 2, but 1 will be okay if you just want to be trying out the deck. Now we have a bit of a difficult one, Geo Mathmech Final Sigma. Very, very interesting name, very, very interesting card by itself. It is playable, and you can turn this card into an OTK machine, but with access code Talker, even I feel like with Raster Liger in combination with some of the other Cyber's Link monsters, you don't really necessarily need this, and it is harder to go into this one than into most of the other OTK pieces. But if you draw into it, like if you get it from the pack, then it's not bad to include it in your deck if you just want to try out the deck, and sometimes this can make for some interesting gameplay. Plus it is unaffected by card effects if it's in the extra monster zone, so this can be somewhat good as well, although 3000 attack points not necessarily that great, but you can boost it with one of your Mathmech cards to 3500 with one of the traps if you want to, and then you have a 3500 attack point monster that is unaffected by card effects, which is not too bad either if you want to be going down that route, although not sure if I would recommend it. We have Surgical Striker Hamp. This card is, I don't think I've seen it played all that much, but with the fact that in Sky Strikers you can search lots of things, you have basically access to every single Sky Striker card in your deck very, very easily. So this card isn't too hard to get into, and it's like a kaiju-like effect. So if you get it, it's not too bad, but you do not want this at 3, or you do not need this even at 1. So it's a bit on the worst side of URs in here, but it's still fairly decent for the fact that it is a UR. Like, it's not complete garbage, it is playable in theory, and you don't have to uncraft it, but you can if you want to. Talking about playable cards, Mathmech Circular, you would want to run 20 of this if you can, so this one very, very important. It's one of the new additions to this pack. This pack wasn't always like this. This pack got added content, bonus content, if you want to call it this, and this card just amazing for Mathmech in general. This is a card that can technically be included in other Cybers decks, because this card doesn't lock you into Mathmech. It doesn't lock you at all, if I'm not sure. So this whole thing is very, 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 very strong, but the other Mathmech combos will lock you into Cybers monsters at least. So there is that. Still find it crazy that this card doesn't lock you into anything at all. So very, 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 very strong card. We have another very, very strong card that is still at 2, and in my opinion I would like it at 1 because I feel like this card is crazy, but it doesn't really, isn't meta relevant anymore anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But I have horrible memories of the Sky Striker Eternal format, where just 4 decks dominated the meta for a very long time, and Sky Striker was one among the more annoying ones to play against. The artwork, very, very nice. Love the artwork of Sky Strikers. Love the idea in theory, but don't like that this is basically a deck that has access to massive card draw in theory, and also to access to any removal at any time whenever you need it, because you can just search any Sky Striker card from your deck and they all have things that they can do, like, oh, pop a spell trap, pop a monster, tribute over something these days, and so on and so on and so on. There's so much this deck can do, and this card is definitely a 2 off. You want to be playing at 2, you would get away with playing it at 1, but 2 is the optimal one because this card is a massive powerhouse. We have new extenders, Sky Striker Mobilize Linkage, very, very good, can get you into lots of things. The Summit Monster gains 1000 attack as well, so you can enable OTKs. There are certain plays. I'm not a massive Sky Striker player, but this card can be used very much. You don't need it. Before it came out, the deck was still fine. Linkage did add lots of stuff to the deck, but you don't need it. If you get it, you run it, and I think the ratio is like 2 to 3. I'm not 100% sure, but this card is definitely a good card. So also in the ultra rare slot, you get worth your money. So basically all ultra rares in here are at least decent. We have Final Sigma, and we have the kaiju-like Sky Striker that, yeah, might be a bit wasted if you get them, but other than that, it is still very good. When we go to the super rares, we'll just skip a little bit. I can just click through them. Shizuku, very, very good card, would run at least 2, I think. 1 you can get away with because there are ways to recycle them back to the extra deck, but I would say 2 at least is necessary in Sky Strikers. And yeah, very good card for a super rare slot. We have Zeke, 1 would be fine. It's a decent card in the super rare slot. It comes up quite a lot and can help you removing certain cards on the board. Yeah, it's decent, it's fine. We have Laplation is needed for the combo. You need to run it at least at 1. You can run it at 2 if you want to, but yeah, at least at 1, because this is one of the heart of the combos of Mathmech these days, because this is the one you want to be going into with the trap card. We have Magma. This is a super rare that is mainly wasted. You can use it, and in theory, if you have it in your extra deck, it's not too bad. If you want to play a more pure variant, if you want to go into a more budget variant orientated, if you just basically go into this pack and then you will eventually get into this card, then you can play it in your extra deck. There will be situations where this card is helpful, but if you want to go for the most competitive variant, you will not see this card in any variant, so it could be a bit of a wasted super rare, but at the start it's not too bad to use. We have Mathmech Sigma. You get away with just running 1 of them. 2 of them, I think, in my personal opinion, is the sweet spot. You can run 3 as well if you want to, but 2 in my personal humble opinion is the sweet spot. So yeah, if you get multiple of this, it's not the end of the world, and this card is very, very strong in the Mathmech deck. It's part of the combo with Circular, so you at least need it at 1 because it's sendable from the deck to the graveyard with a Foolish Burial like effect with Circular. So yeah, 1 is fine, but if you have more, then playing more won't hurt you too much. Nebula is a card that you can run, but you don't necessarily need. I would say it's somewhat wasted of a super rare slot. You get away without it, but playing it doesn't hurt you at all. It has an effect that it works, it's worth it. It's a tuner, so you can search it as well with Wicked. Yeah, not too bad. It's fine, I'd say. We have a card that, in my opinion, is super wasted on a super rare. This one is, yes, it's treated as a Sky Striker card, so you can search it, and the effect does some stuff. You can bin one spell from your deck to the graveyard if this card on the field is destroyed, which is okay. Like, it works, but I don't think I've anyone seen this play at all. And yeah, I think this could have also been a normal or a rare card and wouldn't have been too bad, but they wanted to add another super rare slot here. We have Hornet Drone still at 1, very, very good play starter. It doesn't take up your normal summon, and sadly doesn't also get you the Sky Striker monster into the graveyard that then can revive itself, and then you can go into the combos again, so it's a give and take. But this card very, very strong. Also in Sky Striker variants that don't utilize the Sky Striker stuff too much. If you want to splash it into things, Hornet Drones was one of the cards that made this very possible, so this is why this went down to 1 eventually. We have Widow Anchor, very, very nice cards, a good disruption, and you can decimate your opponent's board with it. You want to at least run 1, but I would say 2 to 3 is probably a lot better. We have Hayate. Now we're just back to the rare cards, and at this point we don't have to discuss this because you can craft them whatever you want, but even the rare cards in this deck, very, very important. This one, very important. Raise, super important. Addition, Subtraction, very important for Math Mix, at least at 2. We have Rose, very important. Diameter, crazy important for the Math Mix because this is part of one of your negates if you have this as an Xyz material, or technically even as a Synchro material. So there's that. We have all the cards from Sky Strikers that make this card crazy. We have, for some reason, Multi-Roll is a rare. Like, that is crazy. If you compare this to having this new cards, the level 1 monster, in comparison to Multi-Roll, I would have really thought Multi-Roll would be like an ultra rare, and I think these days they would have made it 1, especially same with like Area Zero. I would have also thought this one would be a super rare, so you get crazy value basically with this deck because lots of the good cards aren't even high value. So yeah, very, very nice pack, very playable. I would recommend, if you got this and you want to be playing Yu-Gi-Oh! As competitive as possible, I would recommend it. And also if you want to be trying decks that art style wise are quite interesting and play style wise aren't super boring. I mean, Math Mix isn't too crazy, but you can do lots of different things. You can vary, that's the good thing. And a Sky Striker also has a very unique playstyle that can be quite boring after some time, but there's only very little decks that feel very creative whenever you play it. Usually you try to aim to do the same stuff with the same kind of decks anyway, so it's not a massive loss. I would say definite recommendation by me. If you're on the fence of buying this and you really wanted to try it out, 100% go for it. This pack is probably one of the best secret packs in the whole of Master Duels, definitely in the top 10, and I would 100% say if you wanted to go into this, definitely do it. If you like these kind of decks, then also do it. If you don't like any of these decks, then obviously do not do it, because in the end it is all about fun. Why would you play a game if not to have at least a smidgen of fun? Hope you enjoyed this series. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, but most importantly, I hope you have a nice day.